The experience of total disappearance while still alive, entering the great vanishing beyond identity, breath, and self. Opening transmission. There is a moment, so silent, so total, that even the one who witnesses it disappears, not metaphorically, not as an idea, but literally gone. And yet, awareness remains, not as my awareness, not as presence looking at something, but as the field itself, without a center, without a self. This is the experience of total disappearance, while still alive, still breathing, still sitting in a body that now feels like a shadow, a ripple, a robe hanging on wind. What you are about to hear is not spiritual poetry. It is a transmission for those who are ready to vanish. 1. The threshold no one can cross. Every seeker reaches a place where effort dissolves, where technique collapses, where the I that was practicing finds itself dissolving. Like a salt crystal in warm water, this is the edge, the final brink, the threshold before disappearance. And what is so terrifying is that you cannot cross it, because the one who wants to cross cannot come with you. You can prepare, you can sit in stillness, you can cultivate surrender, but you cannot make yourself vanish. The you must dissolve. And what remains is not personal, not spiritual, not graspable. It is not an experience. It is what remains after all experience ends. 2. When the mind fails to follow. At first it may feel like a deep state of meditation. The breath slows, the body disappears, thoughts grow quiet, but then something deeper begins, a pulling inward, so profound. It terrifies the ego. It is not a tunnel, not a void, but an absence so absolute that even the subtlest observer can no longer remain. The mind wants to label it emptiness, formlessness, source. But here's the truth. The mind cannot come. It short-circuits, language collapses, and something more ancient than thought begins to open. Not a vision, not a bliss, not a knowing, but a vanishing. 3. The vanishing of the I. When people say I disappeared in deep meditation, they often mean their body faded or their thoughts stilled. But that's not disappearance. True disappearance is when the sense of I, the reference point that says I am meditating, or I am aware, melts, and what's left is not a witness, but witnessing itself. Even that word is wrong, because there's no one to witness, no distance, no center, no observer, only a field, without qualities, without time, without separation. You might say, that's death, but the body still breathes. So what has died? Only the illusion of self. 4. The first encounter with total absence. When this happens for the first time, it is usually spontaneous. You may be sitting in deep stillness, not trying to go deeper, not expecting anything new. And then, it happens. A kind of dropping out, a vanishing. And when you return, it is only a whisper of return, because you were not there. What remains after such an event is not pride, not attainment, but humility, a holy tremble, a softness. The ego may try to claim it, but it cannot grasp it, for how can you own what happened when you were gone? 5. How to recognize the taste of disappearance. You will not remember it as an event. You will not be able to describe it in sequence, but its signature is unmistakable, timelessness. Not a long time or no time, but the utter absence of time. No trace of me, not even as the witness, not even as awareness of silence. No memory during, only a faint imprint afterward, like waking from a sleep you cannot describe. Peace beyond peace. Not a feeling, but the cessation of everything that could feel. Afterward, stillness. A quiet that lingers not in the room, but in the body, in the soul. Fear and awe. Sometimes what remains is not bliss, but a sacred shiver at what has been touched. 6. Misunderstandings to gently clear. Disappearance is not a trance, not a dissociation, not an altered state. It is not merging with light, not entering a tunnel, not expanding as awareness. It is the total vanishing of the one who wants those things. And it is not something to chase. The more you seek it, the more you remain. It arrives only in full surrender, in silence so complete that even silence is gone. It is not a goal. It is the end of the one who had goals. 7. The conditions that make disappearance possible. Though you cannot force it, you can prepare the ground. The following conditions often precede the experience. Extended stillness without seeking. Deep breath absorption, then breath stopping naturally. No mantra, no object, no effort. An inner invitation to disappear. Not caring if anything happens. There must be no grasping, no pride, no anticipation. Only openness, a willingness to fall without knowing where. You are not meditating for anything. You are not waiting for a shift. You are simply dissolving, like salt in water, like mist in sunlight. 8. The frightening beauty of not returning. Some report an edge where the fear rises. If I go further, I may not come back. That moment is sacred. It is not about death of the body, but death of identity. The fear is not of death, but of vanishing. No roles, no name, no self. And yet, this is the gateway. To pass through that fear is to dissolve into the unnameable. What returns is not a person, but space itself in the shape of form. You walk, you speak, but there is no one behind the eyes. Only the open sky. 9. Why disappearance is not the end. This is not the final enlightenment. This is not liberation. It is a glimpse of burning away, a temporary erasure. Even after it happens, the ego may return. But something has changed. You no longer believe the story of me so fully. You no longer chase the one who wants awakening. You no longer resist silence. And sometimes you find yourself in the middle of the day disappearing again. Not as a state, not as a practice, but as truth. 10. Living after disappearance. What does life look like when the self has vanished? It looks ordinary, but nothing is claimed. You move, but you are not the mover. You think, but thoughts feel like weather. You speak, but there is no speaker. There is a quiet behind everything that never leaves. You are not awakened. You are not realized. You are not anything. Because the one who could be those things is gone. And what remains is only this, ever-changing, ever-empty, ever-full, mystical reflection. To disappear is not to die, but to finally stop pretending. When the actor vanishes, the stage becomes the sky. When the one who seeks is gone, only silence remains. Not as a background, but as all there is. You are not the one who had the experience. You are not the one who remembers it. You are the space in which it happened, and that space has never been born. If this sacred glimpse resonates with something deeper than your mind, let it anchor in you. Subscribe to this channel for transmissions that point not to ideas, but to the silence before them. Become a supporter if you wish to keep this work free, and allow these offerings to continue in full integrity. But most of all, let yourself dissolve, not just in words, but in the living silence you already are. Next transmission preview. In the next sacred episode, we will explore When the Witness Dissolves, No One Left to Watch, a rare passage beyond the final layer of awareness, where even witnessing collapses, and there is no trace of inner or outer. For those who have gone beyond thought, beyond being the observer, and are ready to vanish without center.